Hey everybody, welcome back to the vlog. And I want to wish everybody a happy and safe 4th of July weekend as I'm here with my daughter, enjoying the fruits of our great nation. And speaking of great nations, yeah, our boy Trump, look how he wrecked that senile old fool. How can anyone in their right mind vote for that guy? Not to mention what he did to our country in the last 3.5 years. So I'm not going to get political no more, maybe a little bit, but God bless Trump, God bless America, and for all you people out there that have children like I do, we got to make sure that this country is gonna serve them as much as they will serve our country. It's a two-way street. It's not take. Anyway, today we're going to be doing a video about you. Yeah, you guys, not all of you, but a lot, not a lot, but okay. So I thought I put this, the twins, Senta and what's his Senta and
Testa.
Senta and Testa, the fucking the twins, right? I say they cooperated, and boy, there's a lot of you guys out there that said he didn't. And I'm going to read some of these ridiculous comments, and every single ridiculous comment that I get, whether it has to do with the twins or anybody else, any mafia guy, God forbid I say anything that takes away from their bravada, right? The bravada, is that look that up? Bravada, yeah, like their swagger, their coolness, Boy, I get attacked right away. But you know what? The truth is the truth, and that's what this channel's about. 100% the truth, right?
It's proven, proved, tried, tested, demonstrated,
Yeah.
unproven, tasted.
Yeah, I was. So sometimes I second guess myself. But anyway, and so I thought I did a very how many videos did we did on the twins? We're going to research that right now. I did a whole bunch of them, just giving my opinion. But as time goes on, I'm learning more and more about what happened back in, I think it was October of last year. And what the fuck? I mean,
just two.
So we did two other videos, three in total?
No, I think it was two.
Two. So I did two. All right, so this is going to be the third and last one. Okay? I could give a shit about twins one way or the other. I never met them. I know about them. And we're going to be talking about the parole boards. And we're going to be talking about a lot of things today. But, primarily, I worked for the FBI for 3 decades. I was very good friends with one of the agents that I worked with by the name of Al Garber. And I learned a great deal about the workings of the FBI, what they will do, what they won't do. And sometimes, but they don't do that no more. The FBI isn't the same FBI that I worked with when they were on 69th Street in Manhattan. They're different. It's different. Anyway, so I'm drawing on all my experience with the FBI, with the U.S. Attorney's Office. Both of them I worked out of the Eastern and Southern District of New York. And all the stuff that I've learned, being a working confidential informant, every once in a while they would say, okay, hey, I spoke to the assistant, and they don't want you to do this, or you got to do this, and you got to try to do this, to make the case. And I'm talking about cases that went on for years. When I worked with the DEA, it was 6 years, So I became very familiar with how they want their cases to be presented, the law enforcement, when they present it to the USA or the DA, whatever it may be, and so on. So I know. So when did the news article about the FBI and NYPD were searching for bodies in Orange County, New York? Okay, let's start there. So
in November 15, 2023.
Okay, in November, they started looking for bodies from the Gambino family from the 1980s. Who did that? Who gave that information up? And then bang, all of a sudden, 2 months later, they're getting out in April. Huh? Well, I mean, come on. the twins were part of the Gambinos. Now listen, if the twins didn't cooperate and told the FBI where to go to look for the bodies, then who the did? Who did? No mob guys from the 80s took a collar in November. All of a sudden, out of the blue. That's one thing. Yeah. 6 months later, after they searched for the bodies, and who knows if they found them, they get released. I never did federal time, so I can't really talk about how the parole board works. But I can tell you, I did a small bid back in the 70s, did a 4-year bid in New York. There've been several, like 4 or 5 state prisons in New York City. And I went to see the parole board twice. First was when I was eligible for parole. You meet 3 parole commissioners. And each one of the parole commissioners have a concern. They all have the same concern. Are you gonna, how do you say, recidivism? Are you gonna, what's the likelihood of you committing a crime once I released you on parole?
Is it rescission?
Recidivism. Recidivism means that you're gonna keep coming back, okay? What is the chances of recidivism? Do you have a violent crime? That's a big one. Your criminal history in the past before you got...
the tendency of a convicted criminal to reoffend?
The tendency of a convicted criminal to reoffend. But you all thought I couldn't figure that word out right. I'm getting older, I'm getting a little memory issues. But anyway, where was I? These are the things that the parole commissioners use. There's 3 of them. And then of course, your record or lack thereof in the institution. How many times you got a ticket? How many times were you sent to keep lock and shit like that, you know? So they take all of that into account. You know, you go to the parole board, you tell them, okay, this is what I've done, and they ask you questions, and then you leave. You don't know if you got parole. They don't tell you right there. You go back to your cell, and that night you get the slip, whether parole was denied, if you had, and whether or not you got it. Is it an open date or is it an exact date? Now, if you go to the parole board and you have a certified place to live and a certified job, you're going to get a date. You're going to get a date. It's going to be like a month in advance. They'll give you the date. If you don't have any of those 2 things, then you get what's called an open date. And as soon as you're assigned a parole officer, and as soon as you get that, whatever the problem is, housing or whatever, then you go to, I don't even know if they had halfway houses when I was in there. Okay, so that's what they look at. And I'm thinking it's the same way federally. Each one of those people, those parole board, the parole commissioners, are worried and they're sweating it out, especially if you've been convicted of a violent crime, any crime with a gun. They're worried if they release you and you go out and you kill somebody, well, it comes right back to bite them, because who released them? It comes right. So they're very, very, very worried about that. That's my, and the second experience I had with a parole board was when I violated my parole and I had to go back upstate to do to Greenhaven to have what's called a parole revocation hearing. And they're gonna hit you with time. But I went up there with the police and they got me out, and they went to bat for me. Jim Doherty, God bless his soul. So they went up there and I got released like the next day, or that day, or the next day. They just released me. So what they could have done would say, okay, your violation, that warrants 6 more months, and they give you a time, your violation time, and you go, boom. So that's how the parole board works. Why And I've gotten a lot of comments about, oh, that was the old law, and there, just because you're eligible for parole doesn't mean you're gonna get it, bro. You're not gonna. There are so many people that I knew in prison that murdered one people. I knew a whole bunch of murderers. I was in fucking state prison. That's where they housed them, warehouse them. So, I lost my train of thought. So they are so worried about you doing the same crime, and most people do, that that face the parole board are doing the same old crime. Either they were burglars, they were car thieves, stick-up guys. Those were like the three big things that when I was in murder, homicide. Those were the main thing. So it's the parole commissioner's responsibility. They have to have notes, and they all have to agree. All three of them, at least in New York State, have to agree. Yeah, release or keep them in. And if you keep them in, they'll usually tell you come back in a year, come back in 2 years. Sometimes they'll tell you. Think about that for 2 years. That didn't happen in the twins case. Both of them. Now we're not talking about one. We're talking about both. And just because they were convicted of the same crime doesn't mean they have the same. Their cases are different when it comes to parole. How they acted, did they get their GED? All of these things get taken into consideration. They do. So why would three parole commissioners put their ass on the line when not only were the twins convicted of 10 murders, they were convicted of other things, and then they even got convicted of doing hits of coke in a bathroom in fucking in the Eastern District of Courthouse. They're getting high in the bathroom and they got popped. And they got charged for that. They got charged for that too. But that's neither here nor there. I don't know anybody. I'm sure you guys can Google it. Okay, so now let's look at the federals. The twins go up, they become eligible for parole, and they come up to the parole board. I can assure you, they one at a time. So each case is different. You know, the other guy stabbed somebody or did something, and if the other guy got his GED and he's doing good, there's going to be two different assessments for qualification to be on federal parole. There are. So not only did the parole board look at their criminal past, their criminal history, their conduct while they were in prison, which they did very well in jail, from what I heard. And they're gonna, before you get sentenced, they have in both state and federal courts, they have to do a parole investigation. You get convicted, then they tell you come back in 2 months, and then there's a federal parole officer that interviews your neighbors and everybody. They come around, they look at your criminal history, and they make a recommendation to the court. Custodial, non-custodial, or custodial, 50-50, half and half. They have a great deal to say with it, as does the prosecutor. He has the same thing. He can recommend time or whatever. So not only does the parole board look at what's on paper, they're looking at your sheet. They're going, okay, now let's know what they've learned from the media, television, newspaper report. And today, of course, not when I was in prison, they can go on and put their name in, and just like all you other guys, the twins, and it all comes up with all the shit they did, chopping people up, throwing them in Fountain Avenue, all these murders, dozens of murderers. How in God's name do the federal parole commissioners, if that's what they call them, I don't know, would think it would be a good idea to release them? They wouldn't. Why would they? It's too easy to say, nope, come back in 5 years. Nope. There is no way, in my opinion. So let me look at some notes that I wrote down here. Okay. Now let's go back to November when you saw it on live TV, helicopters over Orange County, FBI, NYPD are up there and they're digging. They got backhoes and everything. No one from the mafia from the 80s got arrested around that time. Nobody. Because they're all fucking dead or in jail. Nobody. So who called the FBI? And let me tell you something else. If I were to call the FBI, anonymous, okay, I'm anonymous. I dial the FBI and I say, hey, I got a tip for you. There's a bunch of dead bodies up there in Orange County, New York, from the twins, from Roy DeMeo, who would often go up there with his son. One of you viewers wrote that, so I'm getting ahead of myself. Do you actually think they would waste their resources and time and thousands of dollars to go up there on an anonymous tip? That didn't happen. That didn't happen. I guarantee it didn't happen because they'd blow that shit off. You're going to tell me there's bodies buried up there, and plus it's acres and acres, those farms up there. But Roy DeMeo, according to one of our viewers, said that Roy and his son used to go up there all the time. And the twins were part of their crew. So, okay. I can go on and on and on about this, but I'm going to read to you. So now, I like to think of myself as a pretty smart guy. And I've been doing this for a long time. So I would have to be a fucking moron not to have taken things away from me, being educated in how the system works. So I got like 10 or 15. The twins are stand-up guys. You can't call them a rat. They're the fucking, well, put the brakes on. The definition of rats are quite a few, actually. If you ask Joey Molino, who's got rat derangement syndrome, and why wouldn't he? Everybody and their mother ratted that guy out. He's got to. So he actually called a man that was a stand-up man by the name of Sonny Franchise a rat because he talked to his son. You know, that's only mafia people believe that bullshit. Sonny Franchise was no rat. He was anything but. I remember working with FBI agents back in the mid-70s, and they would work him, and they would talk about him. I didn't even know who the fuck he was, but they were talking about what a stand-up. They said, "Oh, we're gonna do this. We're gonna try that. Fuck that shit ain't gonna work." That guy is a real mobster, and they respected him. They respect him. So, where was I? Oh, so now these idiots will give me PowerPoints. But if he was a rat, he would have ratted a long time ago. He did 39 years and he's stand up. And well, I'm gonna read. What's this guy's name?
John McCarthy.
John McCarthy. Fuck, you ain't even Italian. You're Irish like me. Come be on my side. Don't be with the mafia. What the fuck do you know about the mob? Come on now. And it seems like it really pisses me off. I answer, me and my daughter, we answer every single comment, good, bad, or indifferent. And unlike other people, if you send me an email, hey, I don't believe the twins flipped or ratted, or I never said they ratted. If you rat somebody out, there has to be somebody alive. You're gonna hurt somebody. That's what a rat is. You're gonna hurt. You're making a deal with the government to get somebody, to hurt someone, but not in this case. So I'm going to read what one of my homies, Irish. How could you do that to me? What's his name again?
John McCarthy.
John McCarthy. That's more Irish sounding than my name. John, we're gonna read, okay, so this guy like fell right into my trap, the Venus flytrap. I got him. And I just blasted him. And I'm gonna read what he said, then I'm gonna read what I said. And of course, the thing that really pisses me off is after I blast one of these people, whether it be for this video or another, they immediately take it down. And that's exactly what John, what's his name? McCarthy. Dude, you're Irish. You did it. How do you love these people? This guy murdered 10 people. And the other thing that's funny, I'm all over the place. The other thing that's kind of funny about this is, where are the 10 family members that he murdered? Did they go to parole board? Because they could go to parole board and say, hey, listen, he murdered my brother. Where are all of these people? Maybe they didn't come to the parole board, or maybe the FBI must have spoke to them and said, listen, he's given us, one of the second most important thing in a homicide case where the body is not recovered is to recover the body. Once you get your boy convicted, then where's the body? And it's a very, very valuable piece of information that a lot of people play. So now these guys, you know, that's what I believe happened. They said, hey, we'll show you where all the bodies are. And boy, they love to do that. And who knows whether they recovered bodies or not, because this is supposed to be on the down low. Okay, so John McCarthy. Glasses on, yeah. And of course, as soon as I touched the phone, I lost it. Okay, now this is in small print. John McCarthy wrote, no way the twins ratted. I never said they ratted. You're in jail for what, 34 years? Now you get a chance to use a get out of jail card. Why wouldn't you do it? It's going to make family members happy, and most important of all, it's going to make the FBI happy that they made a deal that they were able to retrieve a body from 40 years ago, you know, or maybe even longer than that. Okay, so they would make a deal. I know they would. I know. Right after the Sammy the Bull Gravano deal, which was an unbelievable deal, they can do anything. And this is a case where they don't have to worry about the informants don't have to worry about discovery, going to a grand jury. They don't have to worry about jack shit, because their deal was, we'll show you where the bodies are. And they did. And it also wouldn't have surprised me is if they took them out. 2 U.S. Marshals took them out and took them up there so they can point that shit out. Because how else could it have been done? They take them what's called off the count. They take them off the count, put them in the custody of the U.S. Marshals, FBI, whatever, and they did it. So he says, no way they ratted. They did 35 years in prison. In prison with their mouths closed. You know what their mouths were doing in prison for 35 years. Mr. McCarthy, how do you know? How do you know? And what does that have to do with anything? With that? So you think they just woke up one morning and decided to rat? Yeah, again, to rat is to snitch on somebody and they go to jail. No one's going to jail here. That's what makes this deal so unbelievable. But smart. And those two guys were smart. They're not stupid. They did well in prison. They didn't get no problem. I think one of them got their GED. They're old men now, and the government will always want the bodies back. You know, if this was before DNA and they wouldn't be able to prove who they were, a bunch of skeletons from 50, they probably wouldn't have done it. But they can do it. The things that they can do today are unbelievable. They could have ratted back in '89. Yeah, they could have, and they were stand up. They took it to trial, blew, and went to prison. And their sentence was, I think it was 30 to life or something, 30 to life plus 20. What happened to the plus 20? That he magically disappeared? Oof, that just disappeared. They forgot about it. They must have forgot about it. Maybe they didn't write it down. Oh, hey, Mr. McCarthy, that's what they probably did. They probably forgot to write it down. Plus 20. Plus 20, okay? They could have read it back in 1889 and saved themselves 35 years, but they didn't. They're stand-up guys. Okay, they are stand-up guys. If they're stand-up guys and the people that were involved in these murders are long fucking dead, why wouldn't they? Are you a dumbass or what? You, whoever may not like them. I don't know what that he wrote that down. I don't have no. I could give a shit about them. I never met them in my life. I don't know when. I only know what everybody else knows by reading them. They used to butcher people in the fucking bar over there in Brooklyn. And okay. And then he goes on to say, you or whomever may not like them or agree they should be released. And I don't agree with they should be released. But don't ever put a snitch jacket on somebody unless you have backed up black and white. What the fuck? I never, that's not, what is that? What is that? It's only snitching if you hurt somebody, puts them in prison. McCarthy? Is it McCarthy? McCarthy. Come on, man. I'm the fucking expert here, not you. Unless you, maybe you are. Maybe you're an FBI agent. I doubt it. Anyway, so then this is what I say. Can you give me that one? Wow. Look what I said. This thing was a little thing like this. Hi, John. WTF? Are you kidding me? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Where do you draw your wisdom from? How many years did you serve in the penitentiary? How many times were you arrested and given the choice to flip or go to prison? And that's another thing. Everybody, I'd never snitch. I would never snitch. Yeah, they all fucking snitched. I would say, well, how much time did you do to prove that little freaking comment? You know, you don't know about it until them bracelets are on your hand and that door closes. Then they're all crying for their mommy. Okay. Many times were you arrested? Here's why I think your comment is ridiculous. Back in 1989, the twins got popped for 10 murders and other felonies. True, they did not flip. They didn't. They took it to trial. And once they blew in trial, I don't know if they appealed it, but if they did, they lost because they didn't get out, right? They blew. So there goes your theory about them not ratting in 1989. Nobody said they ratted. You say they were stand-up guys. I agree. I never said they were rats. As far as me not liking the twins, I could care less. I could give a shit about the twins. One way or another, that's what he said. And that's what I said. So you think they wouldn't cooperate with the FBI and tell them where dead bodies were buried when everyone else was dead, and that it would never come out that they cooperated. So they could have cooperated, found the dead bodies, case closed, and nobody would know, except for me. And now a whole bunch of you are agreeing with what I'm saying here. Let me go on. So you think they wouldn't cooperate with the FBI and tell them where the bodies were buried when everyone else was dead, and that it would never come out that they cooperated? They wouldn't. If you believe that, John, I got a bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. Yeah, right up your alley. Put a toll on there and make a whole bunch of money. Man, maybe one day the twins will use it. This fucking guy is like ridiculous. Okay, so anyway, basically everything I say in here, I said to him. So I said all that. Boom, man, what do you think? So I told my daughter, hey, take a picture of that, because as soon as I post this, he's going to take it down. And that's exactly what John did. Why'd you do that, John? I would have left yours up no matter what. So why did you do that? So yet a little bit of information I found out through our great viewers is that Roy and his son would visit Orange County, New York all the time when he was a little kid and shit. So that was, I can only imagine how many bodies, you can't keep going to the friggin' dump. And I mean, for as many people as the government claims these guys murdered, a lot of them, they murdered just for sport, you know? How many times can you use the same thing? And so many people were involved in those crimes that I'm shocked that there wasn't an informant. I'm just shocked that he got away with it for as long as he did. So I don't want to keep going over and over this, but this is my opinion of why it could have only been the twins that sent the FBI and the NYPD to Orange County, New York. Who else could it have been? Who else 30, 40 years later calls up the FBI? And then, as I said before, they're not taking no anonymous tip and going up there with, it had to be a credible source. It had to be credible, backed up by facts before the FBI packed their bags and went up there with NYPD as well. So I hope I'm going to put this twin shit to rest unless something else comes up. But I'm just letting you guys know that, you know, the only one it could have been was the twins. Nobody, no other old mobster, 70, 80 years old, got popped for something and he flipped and gave them the bodies up there. That didn't happen. Who was it? That didn't happen. The only one stands to benefit from that was the twins. And look at the timing. They go in November, they get out in April. I mean, come on, everybody. So anyway, we are 41 subscribers from getting 5,000. Why don't you guys help us out and push the button? Just let me get to at least 5,000 so I can say, hey, I got 5,000. I don't look too bad. I don't know. You can't get this content anywhere else on the channel. This is the only channel where you get it straight from the horse's mouth, not from some internet source like all these other guys do. Anything else? What else did I want to say? Trump. See my stickers? See my right there. Let's forget. And listen, to all you Republicans and maybe even some Democrats, you know, to my Republicans, fellow men and women, vote. Don't think he's got it in the bag because these Democrats look at that. You know, we got Biden on the ropes. I don't know. I can't see him being an nominee. I can't see him. I don't want to even talk about it, but you got to vote. You don't think that just because of what happened last week that Trump is a cinch to get in. You got to vote. Got to vote. Got to vote. If you don't do it for us, do it for our children. And like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.